Hello, my beautiful guys and dolls, and welcome to an episode of Before the Curtain. I'm your host, Abby Campbell, and we are here to discover the passion behind the performance. Artists of all backgrounds will share their stories about what it takes to create, survive, and thrive in the competitive world of entertainment. Finding inspiration in their journeys, we aim to bring you everything that happens before the curtain. All right, I'm so excited. We have a rock star of a guest today. He is an award-winning filmmaker, actor, writer, producer, director, acting coach, singer, and musician. He's co-starred on film and the stage with legends like Al Pacino, Vince Vaughn, Kevin Hart, Tony Todd, and many, many more. He's been a staple on the Las Vegas Strip for over 10 years in shows like Tony and Tina's Wedding, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, and The Mob Attraction. He's headlined as a singer and musician at B.B. King's in the Mirage, Starlight Theater in Sin City, Summerlin, Freedom Hall at Sun City Anthem, and the International Showroom at the Italian American Club, but has also had a 3-year residency in the House of Blues at Mandela Bay. He has been an acting coach since 2008 and has been complimented by TV show producers and directors for his ability to stage and frame actors in their self-tape submissions. Teaching seminars, private lessons, and workshops, he's been a guest speaker for the SAG Conservatory on multiple occasions and was guest lecturer and reel director, say that five times fast, for UNLV film class. To quote the casting director of Breaking Bad, Sarah Rhodes, "Anyone who takes Paul's class will be LA ready." His students have been successfully casted in numerous films, too many to put into this intro or we'd be here all day. He owns 2 companies, 231 Productions, where he provides video services for actors, and the Actors Laboratory LV, where he coaches actors for upcoming auditions and in the regular season to keep their skills sharp. My friends, as you can tell, he is a man with a wide variety of expertise, wisdom, and stories, and that is why he is here with us today, because I obviously have questions. So please put together a warm Before the Curtain welcome to the man of the hour, Paul Campanella.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. So jumping right into it, why did you come to Vegas?
Specifically for entertainment. I was making a transition in my career. Vegas has always been a destination for me that I wanted to be at. I tried it many, many, many years ago and it didn't work out. And I went back home to my hometown of Buffalo, New York, and did whatever entertainment I could on the side while I worked a real job and raised a family with my wife. But then we had a situation that enabled us to make the move here in 2005. And our goal was for me to really push what I could do in the entertainment business. Initially, I came here to do a show, like in a showroom. Mm-hmm. I have good friends, the Shintas, who have been staples here in town since the early 2000s. They had headlining at the Rio. And then, of course, I knew Clint Holmes, all of which Clint and the Shintas are originally from Buffalo, New York. So had a connection there. But right when I went to do that, to try and book my show into the showrooms, the whole scenario changed here in Vegas. It became a situation where the casinos were no longer hiring entertainment. What they were doing was they were four-walling the room. So the entertainers had to come in and actually rent the room. And they're talking $40,000 a week.
Whew. Whoa.
So that put a halt to that. And I started sidetracking and looking for work acting. And that's when I was able to get connected with Tony and Tina's Wedding. And that started it off for me here.
Amazing. Yeah. And so you came here acting. How long was it until you were able to pursue your singing and musician?
Well, interesting. I used Tony and Tina's Wedding, the experience I had there, mm-hmm. as leverage to introduce myself to different rooms around the city and clubs. And that gave me some credibility as a, quote, entertainer. So I started small. I started working some small clubs like Lucille's Barbecue, doing that. And then eventually built up over the years. I got, when B.B. King's opened up at the Mirage, I was the first act to be booked in there. And then very occasionally the House of Blues, it was kind of strange because at the time the House of Blues was not doing blues. And that's what I basically do. I do blues and classic soul and R&B. And then I got into the showroom at the Italian American Club here in town. And that was a great experience and loved it and was able to go back. So it just built up little by little, did Sun City, Summerlin, Sun City in Anthem, the theaters there. Had really good response for the show. And that's how it also kind of just mushroomed up through that. My show is called From Memphis to Motown and More. And we revisit those classic hits that people love.
Mm-hmm.
So it's worked out well. And I've been able to achieve all these kind of aspects of my dream life in the entertainment business. It's been a blessing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So did you start off training more as a singer and musician and then find your way to more acting?
Yes, I've been singing. Funny story, when I was 6 years old, my mother was the choir director for the children's choir at our church, and I wanted to sing. So she brought me to the rehearsal, and I'm singing my heart out, and on the way home in the car, she looks at me and kind of sadly tells me, "I can't have you in the choir." And I said, "Why not, Mom?" And she said, "Well, you're too loud and you're off key." So I had to get to work on it from that point. But then eventually I figured it out and, started in the music business in Buffalo, New York, my hometown, and was doing bands, clubs, dates, then went on the road and all that. Traveled all around the East Coast and Canada. And then eventually I've always been interested in acting and movies and film. So eventually I took the leap to a place called Studio Arena Theater in Buffalo and started acting lessons there for a little bit. But again, really, really pursued it here because the music thing sort of shut off for me for a while,
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, I better do something else if I can't do music as much as I want. So that's when that started to really take off.
And was it hard to make that transition from knowing and navigating the music business to trying to learn and navigate the acting and film world?
Yeah, it's definitely a different thing. I mean, there's many things that are the same. If you're a performer, there's performance things that are the same. But you have to learn the craft of acting is different than performing on stage, especially when you're acting for the camera. It's a whole different ballgame. So yeah, it took a lot of time. I took 6 months to take acting classes in San Diego because I found a teacher there that I wanted to work with. And so every Thursday for 6 months, I drove from Las Vegas to San Diego for my acting class. And I do that trip all in one day.
Wow.
So I'd leave here at 11:30 in the morning. I'd get down there around 5, get something to eat somewhere. The class started at 7,
Mm-hmm.
finished at 9:30, and drove 5 hours back here that night.
Wow.
I think I only stayed over one night when I got a hotel.
Wow.
So it was crazy, but it was fun. Learned a lot. And again, just, little by little started to hone the craft and figure it all out, so to speak.
What was the I have 2 questions. What was the biggest thing you had to learn or transform in order to go from performing on stage to performing on film?
Bringing it down. Okay. When you're performing on stage, it's pretty big, you're active, especially if it's a musical thing, you're singing loud, you're moving. But when you're in a frame like this for the camera, you have to learn how to convey those same types of emotions, but in a different way, and because if you're moving all over the place in this much of a frame, you're going to give somebody a headache. So you've got to learn stillness. Okay. Not stiffness, just what I would call minimal movement for the camera. Use your voice a little differently.
Mm-hmm.
Learn about subtext. When I teach the class, my one commandment or my one rule, so to speak, is that if you think it, the camera will see it and the audience will get it. So you don't have to show things, as much as just think them. But there's a time and place for everything. There is a time to be big on camera as well. Al Pacino was famous for being big on camera in his early years in things like Serpico and Justice for All, stuff like that. So it's just really learning how to make those judgment calls, and work with it that way. So that was it. It was really learning whatever bad habits I had, could have been blinking a lot, right? Moving too much, all that stuff. In fact, when you mentioned Sherry Rhodes, the casting director for Breaking Bad, who she was sort of my mentor for a while. The first time I read in front of her on camera, she stopped me and she said, "Paul." I said, "Yeah." She said, "Stop rocking." Apparently, I was standing there and I was rocking back and forth, and I didn't even know it, you know. So, and that's what I work with a lot of actors on, is everybody comes into it with some bad habits that they're completely unaware of.
Oh, yeah.
And we just have to work on that. And those that are dedicated do, and they get great results when they work on it.
Do you work with a lot of performers on stage that want to transition into acting?
I do. You know what I've had over the past few years? I've had a lot of dancers who either want to transition out of dancing and into acting, or want to just add acting to the resume, you know, some musicians as well. So, yeah, that happens a lot.
So when it comes to dancers, do they have a lot more physical habits that they have to get out of? Just because they're so used to expressing physically?
Right. I would say that it's really individuals come to acting with their own different things. I wouldn't say there's a type, you know what I mean? There's not a stereotype where it said, "Oh, if you're a dancer, you're going to do this."
Right.
Everybody's different. I have one dancer who's made the adaptation and moved to acting fantastically well, you know, hardly has to be coached at all. And maybe that's just something he's done on his own, you know, studying actors or studying film. But everybody, like I say, has those little idiosyncrasies, those little bad habits, and I try and point them out, and then they try and work on them over time and get better with it.
Yeah. I was just curious.
Yeah.
What was it what point in your journey did you decide, like, I really want to start coaching or teaching?
Actually, it was kind of by accident. Shortly after I did those acting lessons in San Diego, I had an agent here in town, Dave Brown, a great guy, former rodeo cowboy and stunt actor, who started an agency here. And what he wanted to do at the point that he started the agency was he wanted to do a showcase in Los Angeles at a theater to bring casting directors in to see his actors. Well, I had just been through that exact same experience with my acting coach in San Diego. My last thing I did with them was a showcase at the Debbie Reynolds Theater in LA. So I knew the whole process of preparing for something like that. So he asked me, he said, "Well, do you know how to do this? Can you prepare us?" I said, "Yeah, I think so." So that was what started it right there. It was just sort of by accident. And we put together about, I think it was maybe 8 or 10 actors, and paired them up in couples to do scenes. We picked the scenes, and then that was it. And we did a little showcase in Los Angeles. It was not very well attended, though, sadly. I don't know, some of the casting directors just didn't show up. I think we only had maybe 2. But we rented a theater, in Hollywood, and did it, and, got some good feedback from it. And that was it. And then from that point, this was also right at the point in time where self-tapes were just starting, because a lot of the shows were being produced in Albuquerque. Breaking Bad, Crash, In Plain Sight, movies were being done in Albuquerque. So this whole idea of doing a tape was a sort of new, So when that happened, I then sort of automatically became the agency's acting coach. And I was the one who filmed actors doing their self-tapes, and I did the off-camera reads. And then if they needed the performance to be tweaked in some way, shape, or manner, I helped them with that. And that's where the coaching just sort of evolved from that point forward.
Would you say it's really different to audition as a self-tape than in person?
Yes, there's good and there's bad. The good part about self-tapes is that you can do a bunch of takes, right? You can get it until you feel you're comfortable and you feel good about it. The bad part about it is just being in the room and feeding off of the energy in the room. I've had the good fortune of being able to go into a room with some pretty well-known casting directors and having a good read with them and getting their feedback from it. And it's been great, So, and one of the best roles I ever got booked for was all live in the room in LA. Both the initial audition, went in on what was it? It was a Friday. I went in on a Friday in Hollywood, went into this audition space, did the audition, and I'm driving back here to Vegas, and I get to Riverside, I think it was, and I get a phone call from my manager. She goes, "They want you back tomorrow for a callback." I said, "Okay." So I literally stopped in Riverside, got a hotel, and stayed over and went to the callback the next day and booked that job. So it was fun. Yeah.
Amazing.
So being in the room is good to work with the casting people, let them get your energy and you feel their energy, you know. So it's nice.
So then nowadays, is there more online submissions than in-person
Oh,
auditions?
it's pretty much 100% at this point. I think, initially casting directors really didn't want to do self-tapes. They were very much against it. But with the onset of COVID and where they were forced to do that, they sort of saw the advantages of doing it, in the sense that they could see more actors in a much more shorter period of time at their leisure. They didn't have to be at a space or rent a space for a casting, and be there between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. or whatever. They could be at home in their kitchen in their pajamas and just going on the computer and looking at all the submissions. So, I think they've sort of evolved into now accepting it much more than they initially did.
Mm-hmm. So when you coach or and teach or any of the experiences that you get to do that, do you mostly just focus on video submissions when you teach nowadays?
Well, I have a curriculum. So part of the curriculum is it's sort of different parts. So the main thing that I initially work with people on is what's called scene breakdown. How to break down a scene. You get 2 or 3 pages, right, to audition a scene for something. Well, how do you break that scene down? How do you find out what the writer's intent was for that character in that circumstance, in that scene? So we work on scene breakdown. The second thing we work on is camera technique, eye lines, okay? How to choose, make a decision as to how your eye line should be in a given situation, which actually we just worked on that last night in class. The third thing we work on is improv. It's a skill that a lot of producers and casting directors really like to have actors have. And when I say improvisation, I don't necessarily mean like the comedy improv that we're used to, looking at. There's what I call scene extension improvisation, where you do a scene, right? You do it right up to the end of the scene, but you continue the scene and improvise the rest of the dialogue. Things like that, exercises like that, because it's happened to me. I've been in a situation where we were filming. I was working with Michael Madsen, and he threw a line at me at the end of the scene that was not in the script. And thank God I was able to come up with something, and it wound up, I think it wound up in the film. So, yeah.
Do casting directors ask for that a lot?
It's not that they ask for it, but they like to see it on the resume. And if they do see it on the resume, and they know that this might be a situation where a director, maybe this particular director, likes to improvise a lot, they might ask that in the audition. At the end of you do your scene, it all ends, and they go, "Hey, would you mind sticking around for a couple of minutes? We'd just like to see you do some improvisation." Sure. That type of thing. So that's how they might approach it. Right?
Is that a skill that's overlooked at all?
I think a lot of, especially new actors, don't even think about it. What do you mean improvise? Not only did it happen to me, but here's an interesting story I'll give you. I coached Jay Haran, who's a former UFC fighter, and he's been my client since he started acting, because he transitioned from fighting, right? He retired from being a fighter. Then he got into stunts. His buddy, Randy Couture, Big Randy, big brother, got him stunt things. And then Jay wanted to transition now more to acting stuff. So we met. I started coaching him. So he wound up getting an audition for The Equalizer 2. And they asked him to read for 3 different parts. So he comes over, and I think it was a Saturday afternoon or something. I can't remember. Anyway, we were there for 2 hours going through 3 different scenes and working on them. The last scene we did was literally this big on the page. That's all it was on the page.
Tiny.
That's all they gave us. Just this thing. And the scene was, in this particular version of Equalizer, Denzel is a Lyft driver. So there's a montage section of the movie where he's picking up customers.
Mhm.
This guy's drunk, then there's a bunch of bachelorettes in the back seat, then there's somebody on the phone, this whole montage.
Mhm.
Well, the last person in the montage to get in the cab or the car is Jay's character. Okay. And they had a weird name for his character. They called him the Harried Man. Harried. I didn't know if that meant that he was like harried in a hurry type thing or if he was hairy.
Yeah, like physically.
Yeah, right. So anyway, the scene was he gets in the car and he's got like a little teddy bear or something sticking out of his bag. And all Denzel says is, Denzel's character says, airport. And Jay says, yeah. And then Denzel notices the teddy bear or something. He goes, somebody's birthday? And he says, yeah, my daughter's. And that's it. That's all we knew about that scene. At the end of the audition, I coached him through. I won't go through the details of what we did. But anyway, I coached him through it. And I said, I don't know why, but I'm thinking in my head, this is the smallest scene that we did today. And if that's the one you get, don't be upset. Don't be disappointed with that. I got a feeling there's much more to this because this isn't making sense to me. Right. Sure enough, Jay gets the call. He gets the gig. Okay. He gets on set and the stunt people, because Jay's, he can do his own stunts. So that's a huge advantage. So the stunts present him with the pre-visualization of this scene. And it's a huge scene because he's actually an assassin and he's trying to kill Denzel in the car.
Oh,
Okay. So they show him the previs and he's like flipping out. It's, oh, this is great. Right. So getting to the story about the improv part of it, Jay gets on set and it's just him and Denzel in the car all day. I think they had 10 days of shooting to get this scene because there's so much.
Wow.
There's stunt driving, there's fighting, he's in the back seat, Denzel's in the front. Well, bottom line is Jay gets in the car, Denzel says, airport, yeah. Somebody's birthday, yeah, my daughter's. How old is she? That wasn't in the script. And Jay came back, 6 years old. That's in the movie.
Wow. Did he know that he was going to be a stuntman in this role?
Jay's always hired for his stunt
Okay.
skills, but there was no details as to exactly what this character was. So we weren't sure, quite honestly, at the point, because that was not written in the script that we had.
Yeah.
So it wasn't obvious that this was a stunt.
Okay.
Bottom line was at the end of the day, Jay's scene with Denzel is probably the most action-packed scene in the film. It's probably 3 to 4 minutes long. And when Jay arrived at the premiere, the producers went up to him and told him, Jay, your scene's getting a huge round of applause from the crowds. Because they do test screenings, focus groups, and they love this scene. It's great.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I guess he kind of goes into his auditions knowing that he could be asked.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. He's the tough guy. He's always the tough guy. He's, in fact, he was just maybe 3 weeks ago, an episode of Leverage.
Okay.
He was just on there. He was kind of like this leader of a motorcycle gang, tough guy. But it was a good role because it was probably the biggest role he had as far as co-star on a television show because he had 3 or 4 different scenes and a lot of lines of dialogue. So it was good. It's really good. But I think we had worked on that like a couple of years ago because he filmed it 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
But it was just on as a brand new episode 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So crazy.
I bet it's very fulfilling to have moments like that as a coach.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've had that, with a lot of my clients have really won great roles through their work. I mean, they're the ones that still has to do the work,
Of course.
If I just try and tweak it and guide them a little bit here and there, but Jay's probably been the most successful because he has the stunt experience. So his credits are huge, between television shows and movies. But I had another client, Colio, who booked himself a couple of great television roles. He's had guest star roles, co-star roles on NCIS, FBI International, and then he was a recurring series role on Waco on the Paramount Network, the second season of Waco. I think it was called Waco, The Trial, something like that. So he said he had a nice run there where he was really booking some good roles.
Mhm. Are there any other skills that like, the more skills you have, the better chance you have to get booked in film?
Well, I guess it depends. It's always good to have a set of skills that are
Mhm.
separate from just acting. Okay.
Mhm.
I mean, thank God for my music skills because that's what helped get me on the Vince Vaughn Al Pacino movie, Easy's Waltz,
Mhm.
because I'm playing a member of Vince's band. I'm
Mhm.
playing guitar, I'm singing with him, and we have dialogue scenes as well, obviously, but the key component for me getting that gig was the fact that I'm a musician. So that helps. So if you can, if you have skills, even unusual skills, you never know when you'll be asked to do something, so always have that on your resume.
Mhm.
But one of the things I do when I work with actors on their real scenes is I always ask if they speak another language.
Mm.
And if they do, I try and write the scene for them with at least one line of dialogue in that language. And that's how Coolio got booked on NCIS because he can speak Russian.
Mm.
Or he speaks I think he actually speaks, what's the actual language? It might be Bulgarian, maybe,
Okay.
but it sounds like Russian,
Mhm.
Bulgarian or Hungarian, something like that. So I did his real scene where his first opening line of dialogue is in Bulgarian or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And then the rest he's speaking in English with an accent, right?
Mm. Okay.
That got him his NCIS role.
Ah.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much. I love that.
Yeah, so if you have a special skill and we can show it in a real scene, do it,
Yeah.
Can you ride a horse?
Mm.
Are you proficient with firearms? Okay. Do you do martial arts? Any one of those things. Are you a great dancer? Whatever it is, get have a separate reel for your skill sets.
Mhm. Mm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So here's your skills reel. I can dance, I can ride a horse, I can handle weapons, whatever it might be. 2 or 3 things, just show that on a reel
Mhm.
because you never know when that's going to be important or integral to a role.
Yeah. Yeah, just like you said with being a musician, you can have so many set of skills, and that's what makes you unique and good for whatever role that may come by.
Exactly.
Huh. It's all just sitting in my head. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Because as much as I've seen little bits and pieces of film and have done a job recording or not recording, filming a docuseries,
Okay.
haven't dipped my toes too much into the film world. However, I've seen adjacent things, been an extra,
Yeah,
little
yeah.
things. But to really hear it from working side and is so, different. Same thing in the performing world, right? If you're a dancer, but you can also, I don't know, clog or,
Yeah, exactly.
do
Yeah, you can do tap, you can do ballet, whatever.
right. And
Yeah.
somebody like that needs that. So it's also cool to see how everything overlaps in both live performing on stage and also performing in film and commercially.
Yep.
So throughout your throughout your journey, especially, I mean, I'm going to say here in Vegas, was it ever difficult to balance your passion for being on stage versus your passion for coaching or being on film?
There was one incident a couple of years ago
Oh, yes, I picked the
where
right question.
where what happened is I got asked to do a role in an independent film. I was going to be working with the lead actor. I can't remember who it was, but it was a name actor, not an A-lister or anything, maybe a B or C lister, but they were known. My scene was going to be with them. And what happened was they gave me the shoot dates, right? They said it's going to be from, October 21st to the 23rd. And I said, great. I said, because I've got a show that I'm doing on the 25th at the Italian American Club. I'm headlining the showroom.
Mhm.
It's one of these shows where it's pre-sale tickets. So
Mhm.
people have to buy tickets for the show.
Mhm.
And we were close to a sellout and whatever. So great. I'm going to do this film and then I'm going to do my show on Sunday. It's going to be a great week. Right. Sure enough, they changed the shoot dates and they switch it to the date I have to do my show. I can't cancel the show. because it's a contracted show, you know? So didn't get the film. Had to back out of the film date. So that was actually the only time where something really went head to head like that. You know, I had a conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Been able to manage it pretty good so far.
Mm-hmm.
I almost had it with Easy's Waltz, but thank God I had a show on May 11th, and we were shooting from April 24th to May 24th, something like that. But that particular week from like around the, I don't know, maybe the 6th of May to the 13th, that particular week we were off. And my show was on May 11th, so I didn't have to cancel the show.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, it just worked out perfectly well. And that was at the Starbright Theater in Summerlin. And that was my first show there, you know, so it's kind of like, it's not only you're doing a show, but it's sort of an audition for future shows.
Oh, yeah. We're going to test it out to see how it goes.
Can you imagine canceling like 3 weeks before? It's like, no. But thank God that worked out. So it was good. Yeah.
What was it like getting residency at Mandalay Bay?
That was a dream come true. It really was. Remember I told you earlier that the House of Blues never did blues? So I got a meeting with my son's band. My son also has a band. He's also a singer-musician. And he was working in there doing like a Saturday afternoon show. So, you know, we'd go in and see it and hang and stuff like that. And I got introduced to the manager and I said, you know, can I come and meet you next week or something? I'd like to talk to you about a show. Sure. Yeah, come in. So I went in and I basically sat down and I just said, so I have an idea. I said, how about we put blues in the House of Blues? You know, I said, because it's sort of in your name. You know what I mean? And he's laughing and we're joking about it. So I went through I had a whole presentation and I also had a plan for marketing it and an advertising plan that I was going to be taking care of. I said, look, I will do this. This will be my part of the deal. It's not just a situation where I said, hey, could you hire me? Because I'm really good and I have a great band. You know, I went in there and I said, here's what I will do for you, you know, with the marketing plan. And they said, all right, let's give it a shot. So we went in, they loved it. And it stayed for 3 years.
Wow.
And that was a dream come true to see my name on the marquee outside the House of Blues. You know?
Oh, wow, I bet.
It was great.
What a moment. Name and lights, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I loved the gig there. It was great. The room was great. The audio, the sound in the room, the acoustics were beautiful. And I had a great band and the people loved what we did. They stayed. And one thing happened to me there that's never happened to me ever in a music gig. Usually when you're doing a club gig, you know, you're doing sets, right? And you have break times.
Yeah.
And usually the normal thing is that you don't want your breaks to go too long because if they do, then maybe the people start getting up and walking out.
Absolutely.
One night I had the manager come up and say, could you keep your break longer for this break? And I'm like, sure. Yeah. Why? She goes, we need to get these people out because we have a line outside that's waiting to come in.
You're too popular. You're too good.
Yeah. They're staying too long. We don't want them to stay this long. We need to turn the tables over, you know? So that was never happened before.
What a compliment, though. That's so cool.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. And it was great being the staff was great. Management was great. It was just a wonderful experience. It really was. But everything has its time, you know?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Are there a lot of, what kind of, okay, wait, hang on. I'm like so excited for my brain is just going. Are there any differences in working and let's say marketing yourself in the film world versus like marketing yourself for the live performance stage entertainment world?
I would say, well, a lot of the tools that you use are the same. Okay. So as an example, headshots. Okay. Or pictures, photos. Okay. Obviously you use those. That's part of your marketing toolkit. Reels. I have a reel for music. You know, I have what's called in the music business, they call it an EPK, electronic press kit. right? So you send them the printed bio with what you've done and where you've played, and then you send them the video of you performing live and the audience's reaction to what you're doing, stuff like that. So I think the tools that you use are pretty much the same. So I don't see it as being that much different because those tools are also specifically tailored for what you're doing. So my reel for music is for music, right? My acting reels are for acting, showing different characters and different looks. So it's pretty much the principles are the same is basically what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
So then aside from marketing, what are the differences you've noticed, whether it's how you act when you show up or how you act on set or how you act at a gig or anything? Is anything like that very different?
Not really. I just try and walk in and be me. I can't be anybody else. So I just walk in and be me, say, I'm ready to go. What do you need? And that's pretty much it. If it's a live gig, I always check with the band and make sure everything's cool with them. If I'm showing up on set, just point me to where I need to be and at what time, and I'm there, Yeah. Just, what? Showing up on time in the right frame of mind is everything in business. That's really what it is. Just show up on time, and on time in show business is 15 minutes early.
As my dance teachers used to tell me, early is on time, on time is late, and late is unacceptable.
Right. Yep. So yeah, just show up prepared. Show up on time, be prepared, and go in with a great attitude. Don't make life miserable for anybody. In the music business, they ask the question if they're going to hire a musician. Not only can he play, can he sing, can he do these things, but how does he bus? Meaning, can I live with this guy on a bus on a tour for 3 months? Or as my acting coach used to say, the three considerations that casting directors have are: what do you look like? Are you talented? Right? Can you do the part? Are you an asshole? So if the last is, if you're an asshole, then forget the other two.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The owner of my school, I went to TAPS, Theater Arts Preparatory School. He used to say, "Happy to be here, ready to work." That's what you need to do. And if you're happy to be here, ready to work, you're a joy to get along with, you'll be fine.
Exactly.
And having done all these episodes and having so many amazing guests, that's what everybody says.
Yeah.
Whether you're a choreographer, casting director for a show or for film or commercials, it's all the same.
Yeah.
For the most part, you need to be a joy to be around.
Exactly.
Because people want to work with people they like.
Exactly.
At the end of the day.
And people will always remember how you make them feel. So if you make them feel good, they're always going to have a great thought for you. And that also goes to getting referrals for things, right? The reason you and I met on that shoot that we did was because a friend of mine who always thinks of me referred me to that. And he referred me for a role in a short film that we did 2 years ago, So it's that type of thing. Networking is important. You can get people and I refer people. They'll come to me, casting people that I know here in town will say, "Hey, do you have any of your actors that, female, age 30 to 35, Hispanic?" They'll ask me for this stuff. And I'll say, "Yeah, check out this person." Or I'll connect the two and hopefully something happens.
Has there ever been a moment like that where you kind of had to steer maybe a casting director away from hiring an actor, or?
Not really. I mean, there's, as an acting community here, in any community, I would think, there's always those certain people that, everybody knows, oh, no, not this, not this one again. So they their reputation precedes them.
Okay.
And then that's going to eventually catch up with them.
Right.
So, yeah, but that's just one of those things. So, but no, I've never had a situation where somebody's, said to me, "Hey, what about so-and-so?" And I said, "No, don't forget about it." I've never had that.
That's good.
Yeah. I just want to be on the positive side,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What is there any skill set or attribute that you feel like is lacking a lot nowadays versus to when you first started coaching?
Well, I think that a lot of people who want to act have a misconception of what acting is. And that's where they come in and go over the top, that type of thing, where they think that if they really yell, they can really show how angry they can be. Things like that. Not understanding the craft of acting on camera. So that's a part of it. There was something else I had in my mind when you started the question, and now it slipped out. So if it comes back to me, I'll get back to you on it. But that's pretty much it. It's just having a misconception of what it's about. I know what it was. And sometimes this is even with experienced actors, and I'll be happy to say that I have been just as guilty as anybody on this, and I have to keep reminding myself, it's not about you. When you are trying to make a film, what you're doing is you're trying to tell a story. And every single person working on that project, whether it's a production assistant, craft services, camera people, audio people, actors, background actors, whoever it is, our job is to be an assistant storyteller. And it's not about you. It's not about your character. Okay. One of the things I had to go through in my mind constantly in one of the first films I did was saying that to myself, that in a given scene, this scene is about this character. It's not about my character. I have to be there to support them. I have to be there to provide the dialogue or the information, right, that character needs to help carry the story forward and keep it interesting. So it's an ego thing, right? It's not about you. It's about the story and how we serve the story. Or how we serve in film, it's how we serve the director's vision of that story, right? In television, it's how we serve the writer's vision, because in many cases in television, the writer or creator of the show is the showrunner, right? It's like Shonda Rhimes on ABC or Vince Gilligan with Breaking Bad. They created these shows and they make the decisions, right? So we have to, make sure that we're helping them achieve the vision for this story that they have.
What does it look like for an actor to think it is all about them?
Bad. It looks really bad. What's going to happen is that they're going to waste everybody's time, because now if I'm the director and I'm seeing that, I've got to take time to pull this actor aside and speak to them about it, and that's only if I've given them certain directions and they haven't followed them. Okay. They keep pushing forward on something that they want to do. Right.
Okay.
Now it comes to the time where after 2 or 3 times, okay, we have to have a private conversation.
Right.
This is what I need here. This is what I need you to do. All right. And this is why, and so, yeah, and that means that it's wasting time on set, right? Time is money on set.
Oh, yeah.
That's why it's so important for actors to be prepared, because you don't want to be the guy that's dragging the day down, right? And causing us to miss our day. You really need to know your stuff. You really need to be prepared. I heard a story recently. Titus Welliver is a great actor. He's Bosch on Amazon Prime, the Bosch series. He's the lead actor. And he told the story one day when they had they hired an actor to come on and do a co-star role, no big role. And Bosch is also executive producer of the show. And they're getting ready to film a scene, and the guy's reading his lines like this is the first time he's read them.
Oh.
Like he didn't really maybe prepared ahead of time. And he's just kind of like standing like that, doing this. And Bosch sees that, and they do the first take, and the guy stumbles, I don't know how many takes, whatever it was. And he keeps referring back to his sides for the day. Finally, Titus pulls him aside and said, "Hey, man, what are you doing? You should have done that before you got here."
Yeah.
He said, "You see all these people here, this crew? They want to get home for dinner with their families. And you're holding us up because you weren't prepared." So they finished whatever they had to do, and that guy will never be invited back to that set,
Ooh.
So.
That's rough.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a responsibility, right?
Yeah.
We have to be responsible and accountable for our preparation.
Yeah. I like I like what you said. We're all here to serve the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about anybody except, whether it's the vision. All
Mm-hmm.
we're here to do is to put our pieces in the puzzle of the vision and the story. And it's, easy. Could be easy to forget about that, especially if you're on a streak of booking so many gigs and you're like, oh, I'm so great. And,
Yeah.
I'm doing all the things and I'm just so awesome. And then it's probably easy to slip into that mindset.
Right.
Or maybe not, or maybe brand new actors. I don't know. I haven't gone down that road quite yet, but I'm just assuming. So that's a great reminder to always have.
Mm-hmm.
And also, no matter what you do,
Right.
whenever you're working on a team, in any capacity,
Yeah.
it's not about you.
It's a monumental task to make a feature film.
Oh my!
It's a miracle that any feature film gets made. When you consider the logistical aspects of making a movie, all the locations, moving all the gear, contending with weather if that's a factor that, you weren't counting on. It's literally a miracle that a movie gets done.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. I'll never forget whenever I was booked for a docuseries, having never really done anything other than being a background actor. And even being a background actor, you kind of see whatever's going on. But when you're actually needed for specific scenes and doing specific tasks, I almost felt in the way all the time because, again, I was trained as a dancer. Always, always be the first one there, always be ready. I was like, I'm in the way. There's 700 other people that need to be setting things up and doing their thing. I'm going to go. I'm in the way. And there's so much that I learned on that set of like, wow. I kind of felt irrelevant as an actor almost because I wasn't doing much other than, I was doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing and hired to be there. But when you look at the grand scheme of everything that has to come together, I was like, I am just the sprinkle on top of the sundae.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
so much more underneath of it that needs to happen and be ready, prepared and fresh in order for, those sprinkles to be added at the top. That's literally my job.
Yeah.
That's wild. And it was just such a light bulb moment for me because I got to, experience it so much more than just being a background actor, walking right out after a few hours of being in one scene.
I'm glad you say background actor because that's important, not extra, right? Background actors are really, really important. And when you're in a given scene, I'll tell you just a quick story. I did Mall Cop here with Kevin James, and I was on set one day. We were filming a scene where he's giving a speech. It's a Mall Cop convention, right? And he's winning the award for the Mall Cop of the Year, I think it was, if I remember right. And he's giving this speech, and it's this very inspirational speech. And I noticed this one guy sitting at a table, background actor, and he's looking at, Kevin, and he's like this. And Kevin's speech, I think, gets a little emotional or whatever. And the guy's almost crying, right? And I'm seeing this guy just, I don't know. And this is a big room filled with a lot of people. He happened to be maybe in the second table behind the first row or something like that. And every table is 6 or 8 people, those circular tables they have in banquet rooms. And he's like this, and it was great. And I literally went up to him after they all cut, and I said, "You were great, and you're going to be on camera." And sure enough, the final edit of the film, they got him.
Oh, I love that.
They noticed him, and he was there. He was doing his job as a background actor, and he helped, build the emotion for that scene. And people don't realize how important that is.
Oh, yeah. I remember when the Super Bowl was here a few years ago, they filmed that intro of, who was it, Usher? Where is Usher?
Yes.
And they wanted extras. And I was like, okay. But then they pulled a group of girls. They were like, you're going to be part of the bachelorette party. Now, unfortunately, they didn't use any of these scenes. They only used a few. But on one of them, they had us together in front of, I think it was the registration desk at Caesars.
Okay.
And they were like, okay, we want you guys to be here now. Like, you're about to leave. Make sure, check on your girls. Is her skirt, good? Is her, whatever? And I'm like, okay. So I grabbed this girl and I was like, do a turn. So I had her like turn around and I was like, oh no, your earrings need fixed. So I'm like, I'm gonna make sure my girl looks good. And they filmed it once. They were like, oh, we love what you're doing. Keep that spin. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not as an extra, if they said just be here,
Yeah.
you wouldn't do much. But as a, background actor,
Right.
when you're told to do something, you do it.
Exactly.
Very different than an extra just walking across.
And if you can give a little more that fits with what they're doing, you're not trying to pull focus, whatever. But if that fits, like you were doing with the spinning, all the better.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And then there was one part where I think this made it, where the Bachelorette was at the top of Caesars whenever they were outside in the pool and they were like throwing flowers to Usher. They had to take the extras out because we weren't paid. We weren't the featured Bachelorette party, I guess.
Okay. All right.
But we were the extras.
Okay.
But whenever Usher is doing his performance in the pool, they were like, we want you to yell as loud as you can for Usher.
Okay.
Whatever you want to say, let it rip. And I was like, bet. So he's like dancing. I'm like, yeah, take it off. And I'm like throwing the roses. And they thought it was so funny because they were just, let it go. And it's like, I'm not on camera. They want to hear it.
Exactly,
I will let you hear it.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't make those 2 scenes in the cut, but that's mine. I had a great time.
Well, that's important. Have fun.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, before all those stories, I had a question about, has there been any points that you have come across, whether it was a point of feeling burnt out from doing too much or struggling to get a gig, that you felt like you kind of just wanted to quit and leave your career path behind?
There was one moment briefly in my very, very early music career where I had put this band together specifically to be what was called at that time a show band. And I had long conversations with my agent, and he started to map out some plans for me opening a show in a big theater for a name performer. If I remember correct, I think it was supposed to be Robert Goulet, and my band was going to open, and I was the feature of the band. So I had worked really hard putting this band together, putting the show together. It was all on me. They were all they were hired musicians and hired singers and, great people, good vibe, good band. And right when I felt we were at that point where, we had done just a couple of little gigs around town, where now the agent was happy with what he saw, right? And he's okay. We're gonna make this move. I'll get you the opening for this show. There was an individual in the band that, for whatever reason, and I still don't know to this day, but they basically stole my band. They just took the band. I literally didn't have a band anymore. I was like, what just happened? And I was I literally couldn't get out of my chair for about 2 days. I was like, everything I had worked for like 6 months, was just gone in an instant, like literally like that. And I had to call the agent and tell him, I don't have a band. Right. So yeah, it was this crazy experience. And thank God for my wife, she got me through it. It was rough. It was a really rough couple of days and maybe even longer. I don't even remember. But again, it's one of those life experiences. You look back on it and you go, you know what? That wasn't so important. What was important about that was me and my wife. That's what was important about that. That whole career thing, that didn't matter really at that time. I thought it did.
Yeah.
Right. And when you're young, you think, oh my God, this is the moment. Right. And if it doesn't happen, you just get crushed. Okay. But when you look back on it in hindsight, you see, okay, this is why that happened. This is what was meant to be. So that's basically my philosophy nowadays. I'm here exactly where I'm supposed to be, doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And all the mistakes and stupid things that I did in the younger years, those were all meant to happen too, to learn a lesson, and just keep stepping forward. That's all. Just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And with that, I find myself on a movie set with Al Pacino and Vince Vaughn, and I'm having an unbelievably great time. Right. So how did I get there?
Yeah.
Right. It was everything that went before.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I can remember going to see every Al Pacino movie in the theater and just being like, oh man, this guy's so good, you know? And then to meet him, to work with him, to converse with him, just an absolute joy. And Vince as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in one thing. You know, that was the break. That's my big moment. And then not realize that, again, that wasn't meant for you because there's all these other things
Yeah.
that either are coming that you don't know of yet that can bring you 10 times cooler and more fun, maybe more fulfilling experiences and stories than that one thing ever could.
Exactly. Because what if that thing would have taken off? My path would have gone that way. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
Not this way.
Mm-hmm.
Not that would have been bad, but it would have been different.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just, that's the way it works.
Yeah.
Right? Fate, so to speak, or whatever. God, his will. But, to be on set with those guys for a month last year, oh, God, what a joy. Mm-hmm. I couldn't wait to get to work, and we had some long days. Mm-hmm. We had one day where we did 17 hours. Oh. Al was there for about 9, maybe 8 or 9, but we were there for 17. Mm-hmm. Vince was there for 17. And he keeps his energy up, and he's positive. He's such a positive force, always encouraging to everybody. Mm. If somebody would stumble with a line, oh, you're all right, go ahead, do it again, just super encouraging. I couldn't have asked for a greater experience. And the crew was phenomenal too. Mm-hmm. All the production assistants. It was literally like you're going, is this really happening? Because there was like no negativity at all. It was all a extremely positive experience to work with everybody at the super top level. I mean, our writer-director was Nick Pizzolatto. He's the creative force behind HBO's True Detective. Mm-hmm. Big, huge series. Mm-hmm. Okay. Our cinematographer, Nigel Bluck, Lord of the Rings cinematographer, right? Super great guy. And his crew was phenomenal. I've never seen a crew switch setups so fast. And they're working with 2 and 3 cameras. Mm-hmm. One of the camera was on the telescopic jib.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the big machine, okay, that rolls the camera in.
Yeah.
And they're moving that stuff around like you couldn't believe how they were changing setups. I just couldn't believe it.
Wow.
And then Vince and Al and all the rest of the cast. Shania Twain was a sweetheart. She was on the film. I chatted with her in the green room. Colby Smulders was there. Who else? Can't remember. But just everybody. The background actors were happy to be there. They were having a blast. Vince would interact with them and make them feel good about being there. Thanks for coming, everybody. Stuff like that. That's what makes a set worthy of being there for 17 hours. Mm-hmm. Where you're not going home feeling like, oh my God, I've just been tortured.
You're right.
You've actually it's been uplifting and you almost have an adrenaline. Mm-hmm. So it was phenomenal. And I have to tell you my Al Pacino story. This is my favorite because it's the highlight of my career. So Al has a very famous, for the younger viewers who may not know, Al has a very famous line of dialogue that over time became iconic. And that was in The Godfather Part 3, where he's trying to get out of the whole mafia thing and organized crime and just retire. Just doesn't want nothing to do with it. But some stuff happens and he has this famous line where he's standing in the kitchen and he says, just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in, right? We're doing a scene, we're in the nightclub at the Wynn, and this is a scene where Al, Vince and us in the band are on the stage doing a rehearsal. Mm. And Al is on the dance floor below us, and he's having this conversation with Vince. Now, he's talking to Vince, but I'm literally right next to Vince. So he's looking at me and he's looking at Vince, but he's talking to Vince. The scene ends and the director yells cut. And then the AD says, that's a wrap. So we're done for the day, right? Al starts to walk away and somebody somewhere somehow said something to him. I don't know what they said. Like he was needed somewhere for something or, we need you over here for this, whatever. And Al's just walking away. He's right below me on the dance floor and he stops and he says, just when I thought I was done. To which I said, I looked down on him and I go, they pulled you back in. And he stops and he goes, I heard that. And I look at Vince and Vince is right next to me. He's like this. He's like dying laughing. Al comes back to me and he reaches up and he shakes my hand and he says, "It was great working with you, babe."
Oh.
And I'm like, "Thank you, God." It was just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. He was an
Oh.
absolute sweetheart.
Oh, I love that.
Yep.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Those are,
It's a legend, somebody I looked up to my whole life.
yeah.
For him to say that and just be that kind of a guy,
Yeah.
And he's 85 years old,
Yeah.
and he's still got the energy to do what he does, and he's sharp as a tack.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That wholesomeness, that not, not looking at him, yes, starstruck eyes, but also he's just a person,
yeah.
At the same time. And that's so cool to have those interactions.
Yeah.
I love that. What
Let's
a fun
end it with
story.
that.
No, I do have another question for another story.
Sure.
So, as a performer, whether it be as a singer, musician on stage, or any point on any project, what would you say your funniest moment was?
That's easy. I even have so this is in my younger days playing in a band in Buffalo. We were on stage and we used to do dance steps.
Mhm.
I had two guys up front in the band and we do sort of like this choreography stuff. Anyway, so the step is kind of this thing where one foot goes in front of the other like this,
Mhm.
So I'm doing the dance step and I don't know what happened. I don't know if I got caught on a microphone cord or if I literally might have tripped my own feet. I literally went up like this and landed on the stage. But here's the funny part. I landed sideways to the audience. So like if this were the stage, I'm sideways, the audience is out there. And I turned to my left, which is where the drummer was.
Mhm.
And he has two of those tom-toms right here,
Mhm.
right? His bass drum's here and he's got two tom-toms. And as I look to my left, I see his face in between the tom-toms and he's dying laughing. He's sitting there playing and he's like, like this, right? Would you believe somebody, I don't know, I think it might have been his wife actually. They actually took a picture. I've got a picture of me lying on that floor and you can see the drummer's face like this. It was too much. So that was definitely the funniest, without question. Sort of half embarrassed and half funny. And to this day, I don't know what I did. I don't know if I caught my feet up in or the microphone cord or whatever. So as a
Those
dancer, you must appreciate
those
that.
are the best. That's a moment you'll never forget.
Yep. And
And
it's there in pictures.
and there's evidence. Those are the stories that make it even better. There's evidence. Oh, I love the industry just for those reasons, because it's not like you can just stop.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
There's paying audience members. You gotta keep going.
Yep. Got to keep the show going, right? The show must go on.
Oh, that's good. So, what if you could tell any and all, maybe, or let's just say anybody looking to pursue acting, what would be your biggest one tip?
Take your first step.
Mm.
Do it. Research it. If you think this is something you can do, then look for classes. Okay. But one of the things that I tell a lot of young actors, especially because remember I said earlier, a lot of them have a misconception of acting. And I tell my students all the time is watch the great actors, watch what they don't do.
Mm.
Because chances are you are doing what they don't do.
Mm.
Okay. So watch what they don't do. Watch how there is a certain stillness to them, right?
Mm.
Not stiffness,
Mm.
just minimal movement,
Mm.
Listen to their voice, how they're not yelling, how many times they're speaking very softly. An acting scene in many cases is just a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there's information being exchanged. We're exposing something. We're letting the audience in on something. Okay. So it's just a conversation. It's nothing more than that. And as a friend of mine, Amy Linden, who's also an acting coach, famously says, sometimes you're just a pizza guy. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you just try and understand the subtleties of it, Watch the eye lines of the great actors. Listen to their voice. And as they're going through maybe different emotions, listen how those emotions are expressed through their voice and not necessarily with their face.
Mm-hmm.
You know, J.K. Simmons is a great guy to watch, right? Obviously, Meryl Streep, brilliant. Glenn Close, brilliant. Okay. I love Emily Blunt. I love her. I think she's fantastic. You know, class. You know, she's got a lot of class and she's really good. Yeah, just watch the great ones and watch what they don't do.
That's good. Because I always watch movies and sometimes I'll watch movies and I'm like, how would I deliver that line? What would I do?
Right.
And then it's always like, what are they doing? Not what are they not doing?
Right.
So again, another little perspective shift. That's also just as valuable as what are they doing?
Exactly.
I like it. I like that.
Yep. Yeah, it's similar to music. You know, the space between the notes is just as important. So understand that. Understand the rhythm of a dialogue. Research writers. If you're a current actor, research writers on how they write, because their writing will have a certain rhythm in the way you speak it. Okay. If you listen to Aaron Sorkin's dialogue or David Mamet's dialogue or Quentin Tarantino's dialogue, there's a reason it sounds like that because there is a rhythm. And you need to find that rhythm.
Yeah. I'm also thinking, like, again, as a dancer, researching choreographers, find the flow of their movement.
Exactly.
It all makes sense.
Yep.
It all makes sense. These are good. Take notes. I'm taking notes. I love that. So if anybody is interested in taking classes or lessons from you, you have a website that I'm pretty sure you sent me. Yeah.
It's pxcamp.com. www.pxcamp.com. Or they can just private message me on Facebook under Paul X Campanella. Just find me there and send me a message if you're interested in coaching. If you're a working actor or a current actor and you need reel footage, REEL, I do custom reel production for actors. So they have a 20, 25 second scene. And many of those reels, in some cases, the reels alone have gotten them a job. They didn't even have to audition.
Wow.
So if you need reel work, if you need self-tape help or you need self-tape, I strongly advise actors to not self-tape themselves because it's very difficult to be the director, the cinematographer, the editor, the actor, and do all those things and really come across with a good, solid performance. Focus on the performance, if you can. So if you need any of those services, just give me a buzz.
Amazing. Thank you so much for spending time and sharing all your stories.
Thank you.
Those
I appreciate
are so
it.
fun. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Before the Curtain. Please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe wherever it is you listen to the podcast. We love to hear your virtual round of applause. If you know of a production or artist that deserves to have their story told, send us an email or message us on Instagram by clicking the link in the description.